Hey guys, Carl here, Cultivate with Carl, and today we have a garden update. It has been a while since I've given you an update because my work life has been extremely crazy. Matter of fact, I was able to get out of work just a little early today so I could come home and shoot this update, being that the days are getting much shorter now and I don't have as much time like I did during the summer. The good thing is the fall garden is in full run. It is off the ground, going really well, and I'm pretty excited about that. Now, today is the 17th of October, and oddly enough, we are due our first frost tonight. And it's not going to be a full frost, so here on the coast, we will hit into the, it's probably the low, the mid 30s, just north of the interstate, about 10 miles. They're supposed to have a legit frost. Down here on the coast, since we're so close to the Gulf of Mexico, our temperatures will get into the low 40s, mid 30s. So we'll probably look at 35. We're not down into freezing. So I do not believe I'm even going to cover my plants today. So it's going to be like that for 2 days. And then we are going to push back into warmer weather as the month develops. Now, we are not scheduled to have our first real frost until the middle of December. And by then, these crops should be done. And I should be into bed amendments by then. And then I should also be into preparing for the spring. So let's go ahead and go on the garden tour, and I'll talk about what's happening in each of the beds as we go by. All right, guys, here we go. This is the 2-foot deep bed, and this is the one that we had amended and put all the horse manure in, and we put these pea plants here as a cover crop. And as you can see, we have a lot of various shades of green. They're really thick and flush, and what we're going to do here shortly before they start to flower is we're going to go ahead and cut them down and then re-amend them into the soil. So we're going to go ahead, we'll chop all this down, we'll chop and drop right in place. That should take all the nitrogen and nutrients from the plants, and as they decay, they will put it back in the soil as we come up to the spring. And I didn't really intend on getting black-eyed peas out of this bed, even though it was pretty cool that they grew so full and so fast. And I really believe that has a lot to do with the horse manure that we put in the beds. So these guys in turn will become green manure for the things that follow. And in the spring, I believe I'm going to do potatoes in this bed, though I'm not really sure. We'll see how that goes. But as you can see, these were store-bought black-eyed peas, about that much out of a bag. That's all it took. All right, let's get and look and see what we do. Get on and look and see what we got down this way. All right, guys, this is one of our newer beds. And in this bed, we have early Jersey Wakefield cabbage, which are these right here. And the other cabbages are the cabbage Super Red 80s. So Super Red 80 cabbage in the back, the Jersey cabbage in the front, and these were store-bought. So actually I went to my local nursery and picked these up because the ones that I had planted from seedlings they didn't do that well. So I went ahead and got these, put them in the ground, and then I installed the sprinkler system, which you kind of see here, and you see the drip hoses. And we'll do a story on the drip hoses. I don't have it quite tuned in yet, but when I show you what I'm gonna do with the drip hose, you're gonna really like it because we're gonna incorporate the main lines into the ground. We're gonna bury them. We're gonna push the feeder lines up through the dirt into the beds, and then we're gonna have everything capped off to size, and it will just be the semi-permanent watering system in the bed. So everything is looking really well on the cabbages. I've had some worm damage, some caterpillar damage, but I've actually, instead of using BT or something like that, I've just gone in and picked the caterpillars off. And that seems to have been pretty effective. I wasn't overrun with caterpillars. There was like one per plant, but they were eating holes in the leaves pretty consistently. So I hope that I like cabbage a lot because I'm gonna have a bunch of it, as we'll see in the next bed coming up. All right, guys, this is our newest bed, which I have video of us building, but I haven't published that video yet because it's been really busy. And in this bed, I have Brussels sprouts. So these were just store-bought Brussels sprouts. I got them from the nursery, and they seem to be doing really well. they've started doing a lot better since I've actually installed the irrigation system and started watering them better. So hopefully, I like Brussels sprouts a lot. Hopefully they'll all grow and produce lots of Brussels sprouts so that I can just put some in the fridge or some in the freezer. But I've never done these before. I've never done them here before. So we'll see what happens. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Brussels sprouts in this one bed. And we'll see how they work. I've never grown them before. What's up, Squirrel Patrol? All right, moving on to the okra bed. Okay, here in the okra bed, things are going well. You know, it's we've gotten a couple gallon bags of okra out of the bed, and they've done well. I've chopped down the basil that I had, except for this sweet basil right here, which is smelling really good right now. And the reason why I companion planted them first, and it really worked to keep a lot of the bugs off. But as the okra grew, or as the okra and the basil grew together, the basil started shading the okra out. And I found that the okra plants in the shady areas did not produce near as much okra as the ones that were in the sunlight, the direct sunlight. So once I cut them out, they grew right up. They've just started putting new leaves on. All the okra plants, the leaves had turned, they kind of fell off, and then bam, new leaves came in. So I do not notice, there are a couple okra on, and it's been that way since it's gotten cool. But I see a flower, and I see a couple okra, so we're gonna let them keep going. But what we will do here shortly, within the next few weeks, we're gonna go ahead and clean this bed out. We're gonna re-amend the soil with the horse manure and some other amendments that I purchased, and then we're gonna dress it up and get it ready for tomatoes in the spring. So we will probably put in the horse manure. We'll also put in a lot of alfalfa to get some nitrogen in the soil, and then we'll put in some regular compost, mix all that up and top it off, and then we'll recover it with the wood chips, and then there we'll let it sit until the spring. And then it should be ready come March to plant our tomatoes. There you go. Okay, a little voice over here. The tomato or potato bed on the left is a couple different types of potatoes, and they seem to be growing okay. We're gonna let them go for a little while and see what happens. The stuff in the other beds are a little bit of everything. Like I had some different plants. Let's see what we got. We got some Brussels sprouts. These were the things that I grew. So you have some cauliflower, some broccoli, and then some Brussels sprouts. But I grew these from seedlings, and they just did not do that well. And I don't know if it was a soil problem or what the problem was, but once I saw how this bed was developing, I went ahead and just got the store-bought stuff and put it in. I'll reconfigure that. I really, to be honest with you, haven't had a lot of time to work on the seedlings, and therefore that's what I ended up with. So we'll see what happens. If as a side note, if the seedlings don't do that well, I'll go ahead and clear this bed out before too long, and then I will amend it with the horse manure and all that stuff like that, and some other compost. I'll put the wood chips back on it, and we'll get it ready for the spring also. Let's go take a look at the pepper bed, and I'm going to go ahead and dismount you from the tripod for the flyby of the pepper bed, because the pepper bed's still producing a lot of stuff. Okay guys, as soon as the weather turned cool, the pepper bed went back into action. And you can see here I've got lots of banana peppers. I'm pretty excited about these. Now this plant and this plant, well probably all three, are going to be nominated to get put into pots and stored over the winter inside the house. This jalapeno plant has also produced very well, and it will also go in. Some of these others may not. Like, I'm not sure I'll do these snackables. But now, since the cold weather has come, it has gotten a lot better. They've started producing again. That plant over there, I don't think it's ever produced anything. Back in the back there, that's more jalapenos, doing really well. Right here, the Grand Marconi plant, you can see right in here, this Grand Marconi plant is putting on another Grand Marconi. That looks pretty good. The marigolds in this bed did great. I love that orange. That's amazing. But I've been harvesting seeds from them so that I'll have tons of marigold next year for free. You can see right here in this pepper, something happened to it. I'm not sure what. We'll bust it open and see. But this is this is not jalapeno. This is a shishito pepper, and I will definitely grow the shishitos again. They were very, very useful for me. And then this was a yellow bell pepper, and I never got any bell peppers off of it. Now there's maybe one trying to form, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the pepper bed doing really well, and that's that. So let's move on to the next bed. All right, guys, here we go. This is the broccoli bed. So we have a lot of broccoli in here, and this was store-bought broccoli plants. So once I put them in the beds, they started doing really, really well. This is the last bed that doesn't have a watering system to it. So my mission here in the next few days on the weekend is to get this bed wired for watering, and so that way you can get on the timer with everything else. You can see here the bean plants finally started to grow, and the other plants in the other bed didn't do so well, and so I actually pulled them all out. We'll just go over there now. So this bed had both pole beans and climbing beans. They were not doing well, so I just pulled them, and I'm getting ready to amend the soil. I'm going to clean it out, and I'm going to rework the watering system. So all those pole beans will be pulled too. Let's go take a look along the fence. You can see here I've installed some more watering system. I actually I extended it from there, brought it on down the fence with the goal of in the spring, all this is, I'm going to build beds here, and all this is going to be planted. Now these are my tomatoes. This is the Kellogg's Breakfast, and this is a Celebrity, and they're both doing really well. The Kellogg's Breakfast has a ton of flowers on it. So I'll come out here and I'll move them around like this to help them pollinate. And I'm hoping to get some of the yellow tomatoes, because in the spring I did not get hardly any at all. Here we have cucumber plants that do not look like they're doing well, but they are producing a couple cucumbers. And so I've also planted some spares. I believe that to be a broccoli or a cauliflower, one of the two. And then I'm going to pick these off here in a couple minutes. So those, I'll just let those cucumber plants go until they die. But here's the dreaded squirrel defense force, looking like they do. I don't think they're supposed to be doing that on video, but hey. All right, let's look down the bucket aisle. Okay, here we are on the bucket aisle. That planting bed right there was some Dutch cabbage. They haven't been doing really well. This was some potatoes. I believe that to be a russet potato. This is the rosemary plant. It's doing really well. You can see me in the shadow. This, I'm not sure what this was. I don't remember. But this is a volunteer watermelon plant, and it was doing so well, I just not have the heart to pull it. But I think this weekend we'll do it in. This will be the last weekend for this because of the cool weather. This was a Hausenator tomato plant, and this Hausenator tomato plant, it's doing okay. You know, I've had some problems with the leaves, and I'm not sure that I don't have a little graze-on damage here. But the main stalk is really big, and the leaves are okay. But if you see on the bottom, they're curled, and the branches are a little bit, I don't know. We'll have to see. This here is a Celebrity tomato, and it seems to be doing okay. And actually, I'm testing a little bit of the hay that I bought. I put some hay in there. I've been watering over the hay just to make sure that I don't have any graze-on in the hay. And then here's the, okay. So if this is the Hausenator here, then that is the Grandmaster tomato. The big, that's what that is. So we'll see how that goes. Over here, we've got some onions, or some of the Godzilla broccoli, and it does not looking to be doing well at all. Like I said, the seeds never took off. In this bed we have the bunching onions, which they're ready to harvest. Like I could snip these off and start over. And then underneath all that is a thing of tomato or potatoes. So I'm gonna feed this weekend with nitrogen. I'm gonna give them a lot of nitrogen because both of those are pulling heavy nitrogen, and then we'll see what happens. The little eggplant that could is producing eggplants to this day like a champ, and I've actually grilled some up and they're very good. So for next year, for sure, this is Japanese eggplant. I will for sure have Japanese eggplant on the menu next year to be grown during the spring, summer. I was very happy with the amount of production I got out of this. And when I first got this, if you go back and look at the videos, this was a very poor looking plant that I got from the store. Yeah, in this bed, I planted some bunching onions. Again, they're starting to sprout and look good. And here, I also have bunching onions. They're finally starting to take and look good. And then I have a celebrity tomato plant. This was one of the cabbages. And then over here is a zucchini. And then way over here, we have a potato plant. There's my shadow. So that's a potato plant right there. And then way in the back there is weeds, but also sweet potatoes. And I do not anticipate those sweet potatoes are going to make it. I only put them back there to get them started. So I may snip some of those starts off and put them in water, or I may just let them go, and then over the winter, if they die, they die. And then come the spring, I'm going to plant the whole bed with sweet potatoes. And I actually already have the seeds starts in the house. All right, let's switch around. Okay, so one thing I wanted to show you was my new irrigation system. And I realize this video is going a little bit long, but we got a lot to catch up on. So let me show you the new irrigation system. I'm going to flip you around. So what we have here is, you can see a couple garden hoses in the main line. And I'm going to do a video on this as soon as I can get all the video or all the leads buried in the ground and the garden hoses out of the way. But essentially what I have is a main line coming in here, and it tees off to that bed. That's a bunch of extra. And then it tees off this way to that bed. And then in each of the individual beds, you have a lead, and then a lead right here. And then down here also, you'll see the pipe coming up, and there's a lead. So that means that I can water all 4 of these beds off of one garden hose. And then, coincidentally, I can feed all those beds off of one garden hose because I've purchased myself an inline feeder that we're gonna experiment with. So I could take some Nutri-Grow or something like that and put it in there. I'm walking over to the plant start so you can see where we got going on here. But the irrigation system was a major project. I got to get and dig all that stuff out. So let's flip you around. Here we have our plant starts, and a neighbor gave me this little set right here, which was something that they had a community group. But I have aloe plants from inside the house, and then a sweet basil that needs some watering. Over here, what was left of the cabbage and the cauliflowers and stuff like that. And then there are some bundles of hay, and that green bags or green bundles are alfalfa. That was hay I got from our local farmers market, and then some pine straw shavings from Tractor Supply, and those are all going to be put into my compost. So I'll be composting them along with this stuff. This is some food scraps from a neighbor, and coffee grounds from Starbucks. So I'm gonna have a day when I go around and pick up a lot of coffee grounds from Starbucks, and then I'm gonna make my compost. So like I said, it's just been so busy with work that I haven't had a real chance to work in the garden. But for the lack of work that I've done, the garden is looking great. I'm very satisfied, very happy with how everything is currently. So hopefully this frost will be kind to us, won't kill off too much stuff, and I'll get some BT out here this weekend, get rid of the rest of the caterpillars, and then we'll keep plugging, man. So my mom had this great vegetable soup that had cabbage in it. We'll use some of the cabbage for that. I don't know what else we'll use the cabbage for, but we also have broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts in there. And we're gonna let the pepper bed go just a little bit longer before we go ahead and repot them and and re-amend that bed for next year. So that's it. I appreciate you guys. Hang on, let me get you back on the tripod for the closing comments. Okay guys, here we go. This is the garden update. You can see that, we made some progress. I did not do well with my fall seedlings, mainly because of my neglect, and I'm not sure that I was doing the right seedlings at the right time. I think actually I planted the seedlings when it was too warm for them to thrive, because now it's cooled off a lot, and all the store-bought stuff that I purchased is actually doing a lot better. It's a crapshoot with the potatoes to see what happens. I'm very happy with this, even though I'm not using it for pea production. So we'll see what goes on. But I appreciate you sticking with me. Sorry it's been so busy, but life is what it is. I still have a job, and I do this as a hobby. So I will be producing more videos here shortly. I have extra video already shot. I think there's 2 videos that are still in production, but I'm going to push this one out first, and then we'll get to those other 2, which mainly involve building the big bed back here and then filling that bed up. So I think that's it. And like I always say, get a hobby. Sure, there's time for work, but there's also time for play. And everybody needs a good hobby, something to get rid of that cortisol, something to get rid of your stress, and something to have fun with, and I certainly love this gardening stuff more than I ever thought I would, and I really like bringing it to you on video. So with that, have a great time, get yourself a hobby, and from Carl and the Squirrel Patrol, we're signing off here from Cultivate with Carl. Oh yeah, you're such a good girl. Keep them squirrels out? Yeah, you're a monster. Oh, here comes the real monster. Come here, real monster. Oh, you guys are terrible. Yep, squirrels fear you. Other dogs envy you. All right, we'll see y'all later.